Hi. So today we find I lost the lawsuit I filed for defamation of character. It was a result of me, you know, uh, 2018. I was stupid and drunk and drove to uh, this person's home and used an unopened door to go in and uh, or an unlocked door to go in and try to talk to her. It was a very stupid decision, and her mom called 911. I was probably scared, scared them and whatnot, and I guess I harassed her, I did, technically speaking. I don't know. I was charged and convicted and everything, that goes with that. And I just, I really loved this person. I loved her. I loved her more than anyone ever else I could ever think that would love. You know, I just, I really cared about her, and I knew she was getting into trouble, and I was trying to stop it. I don't know, in my head, and I have to own that I am not all there mentally. I have apparently I have a delusional disorder. No, what's delusional disorder? I guess it's a psychotic illness that is. It's a psychotic illness that I don't know. I guess you have a delusion and you can't think of it to be real. And this delusion that I first had was when I was 19. I was at the Evolve Music Festival in Nova Scotia. It was at the time it was in Antigonish, Nova Scotia. And there was this guy there. He was kind of in with the people who were putting on the festival, and I met him. And right off the back, I could sense something about this person. Like he was, at first at the time, I didn't believe in God. And I don't know, I'm sure I believed that there was some sort of God out there, but I never really, like, believed it. And I grew up in a Christian. My mom was, Christian, took me to church and stuff. But I stopped, I was like, I don't know, the same thing most people say about why they don't believe in God. So I met this person, and then, like I said, he seemed really, uh, like, different. There was just something different about him, and I thought he was an alien at first. And then I helped him go and move some uh, lumber from the festival where he had his camper. He had like a little an old camper, a bunch of wood that they were using for decks or something. And so I drove it to his at the time his girlfriend's um, trailer, mobile trailer in kind of a not too far off area, and and then he said what do you want for payment? He says, do you want money or do you want acid? So I took the acid, right? And he gave me the acid, and I was high, and for some reason, from doing that, I started to think this guy was God, and I was like, he could read my thoughts, and uh, I was thinking about something, and then he was like talking about what I was thinking about, and there was this girl that I met when I was 12, who I all through high school, I was very fond of, we were kind of friends, but uh, she she never was like into me that way, and I thought about her for some reason. And as soon as I thought about her, he told me, he says, that's who you're gonna marry. So after that, I was like, whoa, like, there's a lot of other things too. So the next morning, I don't know, I just came to Christ through that experience was what brought me to Christ. And I met him a month later, and I was having an awful time at this other music festival. And our interaction wasn't as personal at that time. I mean, we were around each other, but there was the other time I spent, a good amount of time with him, just me and him. And I left that music festival all screwed up in the head. And this was about a month after the first meeting. And I went home, and I was something off about my aura. My energy was all screwed up. And my cats, I had these two cats at my parents' house, and they didn't even recognize me. It was like I was a different person. And then eventually they noticed it was me. Because I was always very good with my cats, right? And they knew it was me. And when I was laying in the tent at the music festival, I heard this person named Reggie, who I thought was God, said something about Sherman. And I think there was a person that was playing that festival with the name Sherman. Maybe he was talking to him, but for some reason I took it as Sherman, who is, at that point in time when I'm at my house with my cats, I was locked out of the house. And my grandfather, whose name is Sherman, who, is a devout, born-again Christian, had the key to the house and my parents' house. And so I went up to talk to my grandfather, Sherman, and I broke down, and he prayed with me. And I found Christ that day. And shortly after that, I was called by a friend to go up and see an evangelist named Matt Maddox. And I got baptized a day before my 20th birthday. And the next 6 months were bizarre. I was like hysterical. I'm like, this can't be real. There's no way that this guy could be God. And so I went to his house. He invited me. I was messaging his girlfriend at the time, and I go to his house. I was freaked out. I'm like, this is crazy. This guy cannot be God. There's no way. And I show up at his house. I paid somebody to drive me. There was a bit of a drive to get there. And I go in, and we sit there, and I meet his family and friends, and I spent the night there. I spent the whole night at his house. And I think we had some drinks, or we were drinking beer and smoking weed, but there was no like acid or anything involved. It was just with this person. And I knew he was God. Like I knew in my heart and my soul, and I'm just sitting there staring at him. And I'm just like, don't send me to hell. I was just thinking it in my head, like, don't send me to hell, please. And he just gets up and he says, there is no hell. And then we get up and we go from the kitchen into the living room. And then he says, "You think I'm a demon?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know what you are." But I left the next day. And he told me, "Talk to me every day." I'm like, "How can I talk to you every day?" He's like, "Talk to me every day. Talk to God every day." And I left that next day. We're sitting just watching TV, and he fell asleep on the couch, and I just got up, and I was like, "Wow, I guess I did meet God." And that was the last time I seen him, and he later died. He had a stroke, and then a year or two after that, he died. Apparently, he left this body, and I met him, and I just was like, I'm gonna make music and dedicate my life to this, trying to get people to know about God. And I moved to Montreal. I met my son's mother. I told her all about this. She knew. I was like, I even told her about, like, he said I was gonna marry this other girl who is now married and has a kid, a baby. And, my son was born. I was going through some super bad mental stuff. I had to leave with my son's mom because I was just too screwed up. And she moved to Vancouver Island, and I came out here because it was yearning for me to meet my son. I'm like, I have to go see my son. And it's been 8 years, 8.5 years I've been here, and I've never met him, and I'm hoping that I get to meet him soon. I'm scared. I'm really scared to meet him. I don't know what he's gonna think about me. I don't want to disappoint him. And so I've been here, and then I move here, and I start seeing the number 33 everywhere. It was like a bizarre amount of times. I kept seeing this number. Like, every time I looked at my phone, it was 233. License plates. I missed a parking meter, and I went to go pay it because I didn't want to get a ticket, and it was 33 minutes left on the parking meter. There was just an obscene amount of, like, seeing this number, and I'm like, this is not normal. This is like, I'm seeing this number way too much. Like, way too much. And I kind of knew what it meant, because I knew there was, 33 degrees in Freemasonry, and I kind of thought something like that. I'm like, does that mean I'm that? And eventually I moved down to the town where my son's mother and son lived, and I go to the Freemason Lodge. Like, we just got out of family court, and it was not good, and I thought, well, maybe they can help me see my son. Going naively, I'm like, I don't know, I keep seeing this number. I know you guys get 33 numbers, and then I kind of befriended some of these guys, and I go there one day, and they like to play jokes, and they're like, oh, they told me that it was for the rest of my life, and that I would never be able to, leave it, essentially. And I go there, and I meet a few of them, and I meet a 32 and a 33 degree Freemason, and they start telling me things, and I go to one of them, and I said, I think I met God. And he just goes, of course you did. you know, like in a way that was like he wasn't surprised that I met him. So I'm thinking, I'm like, just as about I was ready to accept that, you know, I was crazy and I didn't meet God, and you know I can move on with my life. I started seeing this number, and then this happens, and at the time I'm just like, I'm not doing too good. I'm like, this is too much to handle. I can't deal with what's going on. And I'm like gonna jump off a bridge or something. So that's, you know, kind of how I got to where I am, and there's a lot of other things that have happened since then. But back to the lawsuit. Yeah, I lost the lawsuit. But that was what was going on in my mind during the time I was, you know, I meet this pretty girl. She tells me she loves me, you know, all this stuff. And then, you know, then I'm charged with stalking, you know, which I guess I technically did. I mean, you know, I never meant, you know, I never would hurt her or anything. I just really loved her, and I'm in my mind, I'm like, this person is just so wonderful, and I have this other part of me where I think I met God, and there's all this Freemason stuff and running the planet and all this bizarre, scary stuff that is scary to me. And I'm gonna marry this other person, and in my mind, I'm like, I have to disprove this thing. And I never felt so strongly for anybody from this girl. You know, I just really loved her, and that was kind of the sum of it. So if you're reading that article and you happen to find this video, I hope it changes your perception of me just a bit. I'm not perfect. I've done things that I am not proud of, you know, but I am who I am, and I believe this to be true, that I met God, you know. The psychiatrists think I'm delusional, say I have delusional disorder, and there's a lot of things that I may be completely delusional about. I'm not saying that. But this particular delusion, I think, is a reality. You know, I've been saying this since I met him. I never have ever, like, doubted it. But, you know, it's wild. It's quite a profound thing. And I thank every day that I did meet God, because you know, it's been a struggle. It's been a real rocky road, and I've made a lot of mistakes and sinned and have done things that I gravely, you know, I feel regret them. I regret them so much. And, you know, the perception of me is the perception of me, and you take it for what it's worth. But that newspaper, you know, Nanaimo News Now, really didn't, you know, explain. You know, they don't know. Like, they're just, there he is. He did this thing, right? Showed up at her house drunk in the middle of the night. It's fucked. It was stupid. But in my mind, I'm like, oh, I'll go and sing her a song, and she'll come out the window. You know, it's just, I wanted it to work out so much that it was fucked up. And don't hate me so much. That's it.